Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Acting Secretary Sue, I agree with you. There are many ways to make the world a better place. And I have to say, looking at all of the work that you've done, I can see that you've devoted your entire life to making the world a better place. So I strongly support your nomination. You've done an outstanding job as Deputy Secretary at the Department of Labor, working as a key partner with Secretary Walsh. You have a well-deserved reputation for inclusive leadership, working with workers and business and industry associations alike to fulfill the mission of the Department of Labor and to implement the laws that Congress has passed. That would be your job as the Secretary of Labor. And let's just remind everybody that the mission of the Department of Labor is to foster, promote, and develop the welfare of wage earners, job seekers, and retirees in the United States, to improve working conditions, advance opportunities for profitable employment, and to assure work-related benefits and rights. And I think it's important to remember that that is the mission that you would swear to uphold if you, as I dearly hope, become our next Labor Secretary. I want to just note that there's been some questions raised today about whether or not you have any experience negotiating large labor contracts. And you probably aren't even aware of this because this just happened. But I understand that you played an important role in the contract negotiations between the International Longshore and Warehouse Union and the Pacific Maritime Association. And apparently this morning they have just reached a settlement and an agreement, which is a very important moment and something that I am sure you're delighted to know and to be aware of. And maybe you could just take a minute to talk a bit about your experience in this case, being a part of an important negotiation that impacts really the entire country.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Senator. Those are parties that I have known through my before I came to this role. They are in the midst of a very important negotiation that is extremely consequential, not only for the parties, but certainly for the parties, and also for our supply chain and our economy as a whole. I have been engaged with the parties, and our role is to help support them staying at the table, help support them resolving their issues. I did recently impress upon them the urgency of the issue, and I am pleased that they have made real progress that has been announced. There will still be a few issues that the parties need to resolve, but I think this is a good example of how the collective bargaining process really works. So thank you very much for noting that, Senator.
And I think it's also an example of how important it is for leaders like you to be integrally engaged in this. And I'm just going to offer for the committee, this is a quote from Gene Soroka, who's executive director of the Port of LA, and he said, this is just like brand new. He said, communication has been daily, hourly, by the minute. Acting Labor Secretary Julie Su has been on the phone with us morning, noon, and night. That is the kind of leadership that you have demonstrated, and it is why you are respected by folks in both labor and in business who have had an opportunity to work with you because they value effectiveness and they value somebody who is about seeking solutions to problems rather than making problems. And speaking of making problems, Mr. Chair, sometimes it happens that big business lobbyists decide collectively that they are going to flex their muscle and to try to defeat a highly qualified candidate. And often those attacks have very little connection to the actual person or their record. In fact, they are about politics and money. And I think that this is one of those situations where you have the big business lobby putting up billboards in the states, senators on this committee attacking a nominee. You know what is going on here. They are trying to use their money to influence this process. And it is our job, Mr. Chair, to cut through all of that and to get to the real person and their qualifications. And I think the record is clear that you are highly qualified to serve as Labor Secretary. And I am very grateful for the opportunity to support you, and I look forward to seeing you in that seat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Senator Murkowski.